Sergeant William Robinson Clarke was a Jamaican World War I airman and also the first black pilot to fly for Britain. He defied racial barriers and served his country with distinction during World War I. Born on October 4, 1895, in Kingston, Jamaica, Clarke was the youngest of 6 children born to Henry and Eugenia Clarke. His fascination with flying began when he saw planes flying overhead during his teenage years. He was determined to become a pilot himself and made plans to travel to England to pursue his dream. In this video, we'll delve into the remarkable life of William Robinson Clarke, the first Jamaican pilot to fly for the British, enlisting in the Royal Flying Corps. After the outbreak of the First World War, the brave 19-year-old William joined thousands of others from the Caribbean to fight for a country that had once enslaved generations of black men and women. He paid £150 sterling in 1915 to travel from Kingston, Jamaica to England so that he could learn how to fly and support the war effort. This life-changing decision eventually saw William becoming Britain's first black pilot.
The British Empire was one of the world's great powers. A quarter of the world was under its control. To win the war, Britain had to mobilise as many people as possible. And at home and across the empire, people largely signed up for the same reasons. In the West Indies, for example, many were intensely patriotic and saw it as their duty to fight for king and country. Others saw the war as an opportunity to escape from poverty at home and see the world in the process.
Despite the racial prejudices at the time, Clarke was determined to serve his country and pursue his dream of becoming a pilot. His application to the RFC was initially rejected due to his race, but he persisted and eventually gained acceptance. Clarke underwent rigorous training to become a fighter pilot. He was one of the few Jamaican men to serve in the RFC, and he faced discrimination and skepticism from some of his fellow servicemen and instructors. However, Clarke proved himself to be an excellent pilot, and he was highly regarded by his superiors.
The RFC obviously is a very technical branch of the military, and these men were in short supply. There were not that many people who could drive a motor vehicle in 1914, so when Clarke turns up, first and foremost, this man is a mechanic and a driver.
Clarke ended up as a mechanic in France before being put forward for pilot training in 1916. When he returned in 1917, he joined No. 4 Squadron, flying RE-8, two-seater reconnaissance aircraft.
He learned to fly the Sopwith Camel biplane, one of the most famous and successful planes of the war. In December 1916, he began pilot training, gaining his wings on the 26th of April 1917. He was promoted to pilot sergeant and he was posted to the No. 4 Squadron RFC at Abil on the 27th of May 1917. He was flying the RE-8 biplane over the Western Front. On the morning of the 28th of July 1917, during a reconnaissance mission flying 5 miles behind the German front line near Ypres, Sergeant Clarke and his observer, 2nd Lieutenant F.P. Blencow, were attacked by armed German scout aircraft. After Clarke was seriously wounded and lost consciousness, his observer brought the aeroplane back across British lines before making a forced landing near Gadiwarsveld. In a letter to his mom, Clarke wrote, "I was doing some photographs a few miles the other side when about 500 scouts came down upon me, and before I could get away, I got a bullet through the spine. I managed to pilot the machine nearly back to the aerodrome, but had to put her down as I was too weak to fly anymore. My observer escaped without any injury." Training and service in World War I. Clarke's first operational posting was the No. 33 Squadron which was stationed on the Western Front. He flew his first combat mission in June 1918, providing air support for ground troops during the Battle of WW1. Over the course of the war, Clarke flew a total of 60 combat missions and was credited with shooting down 4 German planes. One of Clarke's most notable achievements occurred on August 19, 1918. He was flying with 3 other pilots when they encountered a group of German planes. Clarke shot down 2 of the planes and forced the others to retreat. His courage and skill in combat earned him the Distinguished Flying Cross, which was awarded to him by King George V. Clarke's service in the RFC was not without its challenges. He faced racism and discrimination from some of his fellow pilots and the ground crew, and he was often subjected to insults and slurs. However, Clarke remained focused on his duty and remained determined to prove himself as a capable and skilled pilot. Post-war life. After the war ended in 1919, Clarke returned to Jamaica. He initially struggled to find work and was unable to secure a job as a pilot due to racial prejudice. Instead, he worked as a mechanic and later as a civil servant. Clarke continued to stay involved in aviation, however, and he helped to establish the Jamaica Flying Club in 1932. His achievement as the first Jamaican pilot to fly for the British during World War I made him a hero in Jamaica and beyond. He inspired other young Jamaicans to pursue their dreams and showed that anything was possible with hard work and determination. Clarke remained humble and never sought fame or recognition for his services in the RFC. William Robinson Clarke's achievement paved the way for future generations of Jamaican pilots in the British military. He inspired other Jamaican men and women to pursue careers in aviation and showed that racial barriers could be overcome. Clarke's legacy continues to be celebrated in Jamaica and beyond, and he is remembered as a pioneer in aviation history. Thank you for watching.
One of the men who did this was William Robinson Clarke, or Robbie Clarke. He was from Jamaica, and before the war he was a chauffeur, a mechanic. What Clarke did was he went directly to Farnborough, the home of the Royal Flying Corps, and asked to join the RFC. And they signed him up.
Clarke ended
20, we managed to secure his identity bracelet, and this is a very important object because, again, just as stories have generally been forgotten, the collecting of material by museums was also not really done. We are actively trying to actually collect this material now because we want to tell those wider, more diverse stories.